Have you ever heard the term or the phrase, the potter's house? I'm sure you have. Like, if you are a fan or a follower, even if you're not, if you know Bishop T.D. Jakes, whom I call the voice of God, he named his church the Potter's House. And I've always wondered, like, what is this about? What is the Potter's House? Where does he get this term from? And then, hi everyone, welcome to my channel. My name is Natasha Madinda. You can call me Tash. So I wanted to share something with you. So listen, I'm not weird, ne? But I'm one of those people that dreams. So I have dreams, and sometimes they're so clear, and sometimes they don't make sense, and sometimes I probably just watched a whole lot of online stuff or TV before going to bed, and I can't make what the stream is about. But I know for a fact that God communicates with me through dreams. So I wanted to share this dream with you. Okay, so long story short, I'm gonna try and keep it very brief. Um, God usually appears to me in my dreams as a source of light. Like it's a bright light. It's bright, but it's warm. But it doesn't blinden me. It doesn't make me afraid. I don't, like I literally communicate with the light. And we have awesome conversations in the dream. Um, anyway, I just wanted to set that up in terms of like just so that you can visualize what I saw in the dream. So I was in this dream and I was with God and stuff, the light, okay? And so we were in this room, like a random room. I'll call it a room because I don't know what where we were, but it was a room. And in the room, people just kept on coming, like like people just kept on being like coming through the door, and they'd come through the door, and then they would look at the left hand side of the room, and they'd look at the right hand side of the room where the light was, where God was. And some would go to the right hand side where God was, and some would in a weird way go like stand towards the left hand side of the room. And I swear to you, I have no idea who these people were, different people. But some would come in groups, some would, and then they would like, kind of like disperse into whichever side of the room. And it seemed like each person knew exactly which side of the room that they had to go to. This is what it looked like. It looked like, like in school, if you are walking into a room and if you know that you've done good or you have no guilt about something, or your grades are good, or you weren't misbehaving in class or whatever, you just walk towards this side of the room. And some of them, or if you see your friends towards this one side of the room, you just go there. And then there were some people who walked in, and you could see that there was shame, there was shame, there was guilt. They kind of like felt like they didn't deserve to go to the right hand side of the room, especially when they saw the light, the bright light. It was just a bit too much for them. Or it seemed like it was a bit too much for them, so they would go to the left hand side of the room, but like in a very like, like even covering themselves, like shameful way, they don't want to be seen, and they would go and stand towards the left hand side of the room. And in the dream I look at God and I'm like, but what's going on here? Why are people separating themselves? Who are these people? And God's okay, like sometimes he laughs at me because I just ask too many questions. I'm a horrible student. Anyway, so then he encourages me to just watch, and then a few seconds later there was like a shadow, like that's the best way I can describe it. It was a shadow. It kept on walking past the room, and I could just see it I could see it, you know, from where I was, right? And then at some point, the shadow stood by the door, but you couldn't see who it was. But immediately I could feel that something was wrong. It was cold. It was, it was a place that I wouldn't volunteer or automatically just go towards. But then the people who were on the left hand side of the room, which are the ones that were feeling ashamed and guilt and everything and all those things, they, started walking towards the shadow. And I didn't understand because I was like, why would you go there? Because I wanted to stop them from going there. And as I was trying to stop them, um, the people that were on the right hand side of the room where the bright warm light was, they were on their knees and they were worshiping and praying, and some were crying. Some of them seemed like they knew some of the people that were going towards the left hand side of the room or going towards the shadow, and it was a bit painful to watch, to be quite honest with you. So then I asked God, I mean, what is going on? And he said that, they've given up. They don't think that there's a second chance. Um, they don't feel that they don't see any opportunity or any chance for restoration or reform or renewal of their spirits or themselves. Um, and then the dream ended. And I woke up and I started praying because I felt so bad for these people. And I didn't know who they were. But I also didn't understand what the dream was about, right? Anyway, fast forward. Then this happened like about 2 weeks ago. Then 2 or 3 weeks ago. Then last week, because I'm busy studying and reading the book of Jeremiah. As I'm reading the book of Jeremiah, I'm now on chapter 18, and it's where God commands Jeremiah to go to the potter's house. See, TD Jakes, the potter's house. He commands Jeremiah to go to the potter's house. And he says to Jeremiah that go to the potter's house and there I will speak to you. Then, Jeremiah being obedient, he goes to the potter's house, and when he gets there, he finds the potter busy with the clay. Right, he's making the clay, and he's busy with it in a pot. But then somewhere along the line, the clay that he was busy with, he's trying to make it nice and smooth to make a beautiful pot. As he's busy doing that, the clay starts getting marred, like it's gets ruined. Then the potter gently picks it up as it is, right, as it's ruined and it's bent and crooked here or whatever, and he takes it from this pot and he puts it into another pot and tries and starts the process again, fixing it and smoothing out. And God then says to Jeremiah that this is who I am. I am the potter. I basically I take you as you are, with your bruises, with your scars, with your guilt, with your shame, with everything that you are. I take you as you are, and I reform you, I renew you, I smoothen you out, I carve out all these, I break you apart so that you can become new again. And then it clicked, right, back to that dream. But then the part that for me was like, wow, I felt the Holy Spirit say, focus on this part, is on verse 11, right, where God says to Jeremiah, now therefore, say to the people of Judah and those living in Jerusalem, this is what the Lord says. Look, I am preparing a disaster for you and devising a plan against you. So turn from your evil ways, each one of you, and reform your ways and your actions. But they will reply, it's no use. We will continue with our own plans. Each of us will follow the stubbornness of his evil heart. So God says, God warns them, right, about the things that they're doing that are evil. And he says that, listen, I'm giving you a chance. I'm I'm obsessed with you. I want you to do right. The decisions that you're making are wrong, and I want you to change your actions. I want you to reform. I want you to be restored and renewed. Um, but the thing is, these people, they say that what's the point, we already scarred, we're already battered, we've already committed so much sin, we've already done so much wrong, there's no reform for us, like almost like there's no hope for us, right? They've literally lost hope for themselves, and they have not been able to separate themselves from the sin, which is knowing grace. But I don't want to get too much into that part because it may confuse you. And back to the dream, this is when I started understanding what that dream was about. Because when I asked God, why are they going there? Why are they following the shadow? And He was trying to show me that this is what condemnation does, or self condemnation does. This is exactly where the enemy wants you. He will say, Marawena, who are you to think that, Wena, you deserve what, all the good things in life? Who are you to think that you deserve a good man who's going to love you and marry you and commit to you and make you the mother of his children, and you can have this abundant life after everything that you have done, after all the men that you have dated, after you've slept with the whole town? Who are you to think that this guy will actually even look at you? Don't you remember what you've been doing, that you've been running the streets? That's what the devil does. He makes you think that just because of the things that you've done in the past, he brings your past to you. And sometimes it's not even the devil, it's people in your life that remind you that you're not good enough for this, or for this new thing, or for these new things that you want. You don't deserve mercy, you don't deserve grace, because of the things that you've done. Um, like another example is, even in, for instance, if you are in an abusive marriage, that is how people who are abusive operate. They want to remind you of who you were when they met you, especially when, if you weren't in a good place, because people that are abusive, they think that they're saving you, and then they remind you of who you were when, whether they verbally or physically or emotionally abuse you, it's the same thing. They want to remind you of who you were in your past when they met you, before you became, before your eyes were open, before you started separating yourself from the sin. And one will ever love you. You are scarred. You are dumb. You are stupid. You don't have a job. You are dependent on me. You can't do this. You can't do all these things. And that is exactly where the enemy wants to keep you. Even at work, sometimes you want to apply for a job, but you give yourself a no before you even get the no, from the people that you're applying, for the job for. And you look at you look at the vacancy, and you already tell yourself, oh no, I'm not qualified. I don't have this. I don't have that. No, before you even send the CV. I mean, how does that work? Um, you know, my sister in law taught me something. She said, people must earn the right to cancel you. They must earn the right to to manage you out of your position. They must earn the right to cancel you. They must earn the right. You can't just give it to them. They must work hard for it. You must be unpushable, unshakable, and you must remember who you are, and most importantly, remember whose you are. So this is exactly, like, these are the things that the enemy, this is how he keeps us trapped in our own sin, as if there's no renewal. So the way in which this scripture actually made sense for me, and the way it clicked, was because those people that followed the shadow, I mean, they knew what they were following. They went there as if that's their only option, as if that's what they deserved. Little did they know that God's love for us, God's forgiveness for us, God's mercy for us and God's grace for us cancels all of that. All you have to do is to confess your sin to God and say, I'm sorry, and do better. And, you know, just there is an ability to save yourself. Um, and I just wanted to share this with you because it's like there's a lot of people out there who think that there's no reform, there's no room for restoration, there's no room for renewal. But the grace of God is so awesome. It literally takes the sin that you have committed and it separates you from the sin. That is what Christ did. Okay? Separates you from the moment when Christ was on the cross and he said, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? It is because God cannot stand sin. And God turned his back in that moment onto Christ. And it was the first time Christ has ever felt like distance from his Father. And therefore he's like, Father, Father, why? And then he started feeling all the sin, like all the stuff that, imagine feeling all the emotions of the world, right? All the bad stuff, all the sin. And he felt it. And he's like, Father, Father, why have you forsaken me? But then the thing is God, right? And God is not going to change who he is for anything or anyone. And but Christ is, I call him umtetheleli, you know, our the person that speaks on our behalf and pleads on our behalf. But Christ took on that sin, and he was the ultimate sacrifice. And you know, he put on that robe that basically says, you know, that covers us with grace, and he cleans you up. And he says there is another chance, there is still hope, no matter how far down the line you are, no matter how engrossed in your mess you are, no matter how bleak the future looks. There's always, always a way out. There's always, always God at the end of your light or at the end of your tunnel. And I just really, really want you to be encouraged and to remember to try and separate, to aim actually to separate yourself from the sin. That is what grace is. And more so, if people have hurt you and they've done you wrong, separate them from the sin. Because in most cases, you are not fighting with flesh, you are fighting with the spirit, okay? So give people the same grace that Jesus gives you, that God gives you. Separate people from this, and then you'll be able to look at them for who they are and what their potential is, and then you'll be able to see them from the lens that God sees them through. Whew, that is a lot. I even went kind of digressed into grace. But yeah, I'm enjoying the book of Jeremiah. Please, if you've got any input or anything that you would like to add on to this, come along with me on this journey of studying the book of Jeremiah. I am currently I'm actually now on chapter 20, but the verse that I was reading to you is on Jeremiah chapter 18. And it's about the potter's house. So now you know where the potter's house comes from. Okay? Anyway, God bless you. Love you so much. And have a beautiful, blessed day, beloveds. Mwah.